Pour poser des questions et écouter les réponses dans les premières.
Well, I didn't mention that Thorcon, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission is very difficult to work with and very expensive to work with in the United States, and Thorcon didn't even try to go to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. They decided that they would look for a country that would allow them to test and then license the reactor. The way they intend to do this is to build one module in a South Korean shipyard and then heat it up to operating temperature electrically and test it, basically test the pump, the heat exchanger, and the pot. And when they have it all operating like they want it to operate, then they would build the second reactor and they would build the ship that it would be on, put the entire power plant there, and then they would move it to a country that would be accepting of this and allow them to test it and then license it. So how do you find a country that'll do that? Well, the United States isn't going to do it. Terrestrial energy was started in Canada partly because they have a more reasonable regulatory environment, and England has more, the UK has a more I suppose I should call it England, I don't know, after Brexit. They have a more reasonable regulatory environment, but nevertheless, the Devaney brothers are both in their 70s. Jack is 76, Dave is 72, and they want to see this happen. So they thought, well, we can build this thing in 4 years. Can we find a country that would allow us to do that, to test it and then license it? So while they were searching for a country to do it, the Indonesians came to them and said, how fast could you build one of these? And they said, 4 years. And the Indonesians said, could you do it in 3 years? And they said, you're the people we want to talk to. So, so they began discussions with the Indonesians, and it's to the point now where they have, they've signed MOUs, they have a lot of support from the president on down, the major banks, the major corporations. Indonesia is writing up their regulatory regime now, right, with this in mind. But they've engaged with the IAEA, and I know there was a discussion earlier today about, well, will the other countries, will the United States and Russia and China and everybody, won't they muscle Indonesia to keep them from doing this? I think as long as the IAEA is involved, the inherent safety of this system and the fact that it would be actually moored offshore while the testing is starting, while it's being done, I don't think there would be a pressing incentive for any of the other countries that might be involved to really put the screws to Indonesia. I might be wrong, but that's what the Thorcon people are hoping. And now China is getting interested, quite interested actually, and I'm going to be going over there in a couple of days to talk with them about this. So China might be the country where they do it. The thing is, they're going to build it in South Korea, they're going to test it in South Korea, and so 4 years from now, if they have a ship with a power plant on it, with a couple reactors, then they have to find the country to put it. And I suspect that if it gets to that point, they'll either do it in Indonesia or possibly China. There are other countries that have come and asked them to do it, but so far those are the two probably best ones.
Jacques, tu me dis que tu aimais bien les petits réacteurs. Tu n'as pas de questions à poser ou de remarques, enthousiasme à faire?
Je suis séduit par ce son de
On ne peut pas mieux dire. D'autres questions ou nous allons passer à la dernière conférence de la journée? Bon, bah ma foi. Voilà. Merci encore ta présentation de